Hey, it's Tiara Nicole Riley, a motivational speaker, transitional life coach, author, a five-time published author, and owner of Rethinking Me, a life coaching firm. We are continuing in our mental health series, and I could not have a mental health series without talking about therapy. So, I want to talk to you about my experience with therapy, the benefits that I've experienced with therapy, in hopes of inspiring you to go to therapy. Yay! It is my personal theory that if you were born black in America, you need to be in therapy. You need to be in therapy. Period. Point blank. Even if you have lived a perfect life, get in therapy. Simply because you are black in America. Okay? Like, please, just take my word for it. Okay. Um, but I also try to have the conversation about therapy with the context of like the history of therapy within the black community. And I speak to the black community because that is what I am. So I can only speak to what I know, right? Um, but I think understanding the history of therapy in the black community and understanding why it is I think it's becoming less of a taboo in our community now, but this is as of the millennial generation. Like, I feel like millennials are the first generation that are like, child, I'm in therapy, okay? I need help. Right? So, but to add some context to that, like, if you go back a couple of decades, like, therapy was largely considered a white woman luxury. Like, if you went to therapy, like, you were either like in a mental hospital or you a white woman and this was just your luxury to be able to just sit on the couch and talk about your feelings. You know what I mean? Like it's a new thing. So I try to be mindful with that when I'm having conversations about therapy, particularly with like older generations, because I do understand like this is a new concept largely to be able to like care about your mental health. And thinking back to like every generation, particularly in the black community, has had a particular struggle that they're fighting for. And I think millennials, in large part, have been fighting for like mental and emotional well-being, but we also have to know that we're doing that by standing on the shoulders of the previous generations. So like Gen X, we're fighting for like equal rights and financial and opportunity and education, and particularly black women being equally viewed at the table, right? And having opportunities in education, in career, in finance, in all of the things, and really being accepted as an equal at certain tables. Like that was the big fight. I think academic and professional were the big pushes from Gen X generation, right? When you go back a generation with the boomers, like they were pushing for like our equal rights as treatment, right? Like the opportunity, when you think about the civil rights movement and the opportunity to just sit at a restaurant of choice, right? Like you're a paying customer and to be treated as a paying customer, right? And then, of course, as you go back further and further, there were other fights and other plights that these generations were fighting for. So, yes, millennials are largely fighting for mental and emotional well being, but we're able to do so because previous generations have fought the fight that have given space for us to now focus on mental and emotional well being. I say that to say, like, when we have to give grace, right? Like, yes, it is important to us, but we also have to give grace to the fact that there were other things that were important to figure out first. You with me? You with me? You with me? So, with that being said, I do still believe we all need therapy. Okay? Particularly if you are African American by way of like the slave trade. Okay? And again, even if you feel like your life was perfect, we also have to recognize that trauma. So, okay, let me back up. When a woman is born, her eggs were inside of her mother that were inside of her grandmother. So the trauma that your grandparents or your grandmother endured was passed down two generations. So any trauma that your grandmother may have endured while pregnant with you is in your DNA. Trauma is passed on through the pregnancy for that child and if the child is a female, then that child. Two generations. So as a woman, born to a woman, born to a woman, what my grandmother may have went through while pregnant with my mother is in my DNA. And knowing my family history, that I need therapy. And that's okay. And that's not of any fault to my grandmother, right? Like she did the best she could. Like our grandparents' generation were fighting through real problems. They did the best that they could. The fact that pregnancy survived while under those kind of circumstances is a miracle in and of itself, right? So this is why I'm saying if you're a black person born in America, get in therapy. Even if you think your life is great, there is problems and there are community-wide problems that impact you every day. If you are driving regular and you see a police officer drive up behind you real fast and you get tense, that's CPTSD. That is triggered simply because you are a black person in America and you've seen people who look like you do absolutely nothing wrong and end up dead. Okay? Get in therapy. Get in therapy. Get in therapy. Now, when we started the intro video, I did talk about ways to find a therapist, but I want to just elaborate on that conversation a little bit and just talk about like finding the right therapist for you. Don't give up on that process. Just like you have to find the right job for you, just like you have to find the right church for you, just like you have to find the right service providers for you, you have to find the right therapist for you. And once you find the right therapist, it will unlock some amazing things in your life. And I want you to do that while everything's okay. And the reason I want you to do that is because finding and establishing a therapeutic relationship while all hell is breaking loose in your life is a nightmare. If you've ever been to therapy, you know the first like 2-3 sessions are like getting to know you sessions. Like, who's your insurance company? What's your history? Who's in your right? And I remember, for those of you who don't know, I actually miscarried twins in 2016. And I actually started the therapeutic relationship when I was pregnant, when I found out I was pregnant with the twins. And so I was grateful. I didn't know that the pregnancy was going to end up as traumatic as it was, but I was so grateful that I already had an established relationship with my therapist before the pregnancy ended up in a loss, because I cannot imagine literally feeling like my world is crumbling and the entire hour is spent talking about who's your insurance. Ask me dumb questions that they have to ask, right? But in the middle of your trauma, that is not what you want to be dealing with. It's just not. It's just not. And that's actually the relationship that I'm currently working with. So we've been working together on and off for since so I was pregnant in 2016. So we're going on 8 years. That makes me feel so old. But I've been working with this particular therapist on and off for 8 years now. And what I'm actually realizing now is there are benefits to that long-term therapeutic relationship. Like she knows, like between her and my best friend, they know it all. And if they don't know it, it's because I forgot to tell them, not because they are my safe spaces in this world. And it's just really ironic that my best friend happens to be a therapist. Y'all, I'm winning in all turns. Okay. But they are my safe spaces in this world and my ability to like really process what I'm dealing with and going through. And so if they don't know something, it's mainly because I forgot to tell them and my memory is just bad. Anyways, but some of the benefits that I've experienced of having that long-term therapeutic relationship is she knows my patterns, she knows my habits, she can speak to my growth, she can speak to when I'm slipping into old ways, and it's really been beautiful. I am pro find a therapist that looks like you by race and gender. There's nothing a black man can tell me about being a woman, and there's nothing a white woman can tell me about being black. Having a black female therapist has been the most productive relationships I've had in general with a therapist. And I think it's because I'm able to show up as me. I don't have to code switch. I don't have to translate. I don't have to explain certain things. I can just stick to what I specifically am going through versus having to weed through and navigate and feel like I have to explain certain nuances of my experience as a Black woman. I'm sure they're all trained to be able to talk to anybody, but I don't know. I just feel like Black women need Black women and Black men need Black men, because we have very unique experiences in this country. And again, as a Black woman, I can't tell a man how to be a man. I don't know how it feels to be a Black man in America. I know how it feels to be a Black woman in America, and I can empathize, hands down. But I also prefer to speak with Black women in America. And that's just, I don't know. Because you understand when I say certain things, or when I'm sitting in, y'all, the number of therapy sessions I've taken from the hair salon, y'all, and she don't even blink, don't even. Or when I have a therapy session before the hair appointment, don't even phase her none, child. And we just get right to it, okay? But please, 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 if you are listening to this video and you're like, if even just 1% of you think maybe you should get into therapy, just try it. Find the right person and then just try it. But don't give up on the process. And I truly believe finding the right therapist can unlock a lot in your personal life, but also in your relationships with people. I think going to therapy regularly helps you navigate the challenges of life and helps you understand all of the things at play and can give you an unbiased perspective when you're dealing with like relationship challenges. And again, that's relationship to friendships, family, and romantic. Like relationships as a whole. It really, really makes a difference. So get into therapy. And also, I want to just drop in the comments if you are in therapy, how often do you go? I usually do like a bi weekly situation, but I've recently got into weekly therapy because life has been lifing. And not necessarily that life has been bad lately, but life has been busy lately. And at a minimum, I have 1 hour a week where I'm able to just purge and vent and get it off of my chest, and really like think through some of the things that come up throughout the week and process and deal with it. So having that safe space every week has been really helpful. Even though life has been good lately. Actually, life has been really good lately. But I still have been sticking to that weekly therapy session to make sure that I have that space as a very busy human. I have that space to focus on me at least once a week. So yeah, drop in the comments. How often are you going to therapy? Is it as often as you would like or not? And if you need help finding a therapist, let me know. I'll definitely drop some resources in the comments as well. With that being said, thank you for watching this video. If you know somebody who needs to hear some of the gems in this video, definitely make sure you forward it to them, share this video with them. But of course, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and hit the notification bell so you are the first to know when a video has dropped. Thanks, guys.